Welcome to History's Food Fights. Footprints. Hey there, history lovers. Welcome to History's Footprints, where we dig deep into the past, unearthing stories that are sometimes epic, sometimes tragic, and sometimes, dare I say it, a little bit ridiculous. And what's more ridiculous, you might ask, than a good old-fashioned battle? Think of it this way. Battles are basically epic food fights. So buckle up, because today we're serving up a 10-course meal of the most important, influential, and yes, even ridiculous battles in human history. Alright, let's kick things off in ancient Greece, 490 BC, with the Battle of Marathon. Now, you might know marathon as that thing people run for a really long time. The modern marathon is actually based on the distance a Greek messenger ran to announce the Athenian victory in this very battle. The Athenians, outnumbered but not outmatched, devised a cunning plan and completely routed the Persian forces. This victory wasn't just a win for Athens, it was a win for democracy itself. Next up, we're hopping across the English Channel to 1066 and the Battle of Hastings. Picture this. England, minding its own business, when BAM! William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, shows up with his army and a serious case of conquest on his mind. The Battle of Hastings was a turning point in English history, marking the beginning of the Norman conquest. It was a brutal, bloody affair, and in the end William emerged victorious, claiming the English throne for himself. Apparently the Normans, being the sophisticated French foodies they were shocked by the English diet. Even in the midst of battle, some things never change. Let's fast forward to 732 AD, to the Battle of Tours in what is now France. This battle pitted the Frankish and Aquitanian armies, led by the legendary Charles Martel, against the invading Muslim army of the Umayyad Caliphate. The Umayyad Caliphate had been on a roll, conquering vast swaths of North Africa and Spain. But Charles Martel had other plans. He rallied his troops and met the Umayyad army head-on in a clash of civilizations that would determine the fate of Western Europe. In the end, the Franks emerged victorious, halting the Umayyad advance into Europe and earning Charles Martel the nickname the Hammer. Chapter 4. Aun Court, longbows and really bad haircuts. Next up, we're heading back to France, this time for the Battle of Aun Court in 1415. This battle was another chapter in the 100 Years' War, a seemingly never-ending feud between England and France. At Aun Court, the English army, led by the young King Henry V, found themselves hopelessly outnumbered by the French. But what the English lacked in numbers, they more than made up for in a secret weapon, the longbow. The French, on the other hand, charged into battle on horseback, wearing heavy armor and sporting some truly questionable hairstyles. Needless to say, the English longbowmen made short work of the heavily armored, poorly coiffed French knights. Chapter 5. Waterloo, Napoleon's Last Stand and Fall. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to witness the downfall of one of history's most iconic figures, Napoleon Bonaparte. This is the story of a man who once seemed invincible, a military genius whose strategies and tactics were studied and admired by many. But even the greatest can fall. The Battle of Waterloo, fought in 1815, marked the end of Napoleon's reign as Emperor of the French and ushered in a new era in European history. It was a decisive battle that would change the course of history forever. The stakes were incredibly high, and the world watched with bated breath. The Battle of Waterloo was a clash of titans, with Napoleon's French army facing off against a coalition of British, Dutch, and Prussian forces. The battlefield was a chaotic and brutal place, with soldiers fighting valiantly on both sides. The air was thick with the smoke of cannon fire and the cries of the wounded. But in the end, Napoleon's luck ran out. His once formidable army was forced to retreat, and the dream of a French-dominated Europe crumbled before his eyes. Some say it was the muddy ground, which made it difficult for his troops to maneuver and execute their strategies effectively. Some say it was the arrival of the Prussians, who provided crucial reinforcements to the coalition forces at a critical moment. And some say it was because Napoleon was having a really bad hair day, a humorous but poignant reminder that even the greatest leaders have their off days. Whatever the reason, Napoleon was defeated and exiled to the remote island of St. Helena. There he would spend the remaining years of his life far from the power and glory he once knew. His fall from grace serves as a powerful lesson in the impermanence of power and the unpredictable nature of fate. Chapter 6. Gettysburg, brother against brother, beard against beard. Now let's hop across the pond to the United States for the Battle of Gettysburg, a pivotal battle in the American Civil War. This battle, fought over 3 long and bloody days in July of 1863, is considered the turning point of the war. Imagine this: over 160,000 soldiers clad in blue and gray, clashing in a small Pennsylvania town. One of the more peculiar aspects of this war was the sheer amount of facial hair on display. Seriously, these guys took their beards very seriously. Maybe that's why the Union won. Those Confederate beards must have slowed them down. Chapter 7. Stalingrad winter is coming, and it's bringing tanks. Fast forward to the 20th century and the Eastern Front of World War II, where we find ourselves in the midst of the Battle of Stalingrad. This battle, fought between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, was one of the longest and bloodiest battles in human history, lasting a grueling 200 days and nights. Take, for example, the story of Vasily Zaitsev, a Soviet sniper who became a legend for his deadly accuracy. In the end, Zaitsev outsmarted and outshot Koenig, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, a well-aimed shot can change the course of history. Chapter 8. Midway aircraft carriers, dive bombers, and really big explosions. Let's take a break from the trenches and head to the Pacific theater of World War II for the Battle of Midway. This battle was not just any skirmish, it was a pivotal moment in naval warfare history. This battle, fought in June of 1942, was a decisive naval battle that turned the tide of the war in the Pacific in favor of the Allies. The stakes were incredibly high, and the strategies employed were nothing short of genius. Now, Midway was all about aircraft carriers. These floating air bases were the heart of the naval fleets, and their role in this battle was crucial. The Americans had cracked the Japanese naval code, so they knew exactly where and when the Japanese were going to attack. This intelligence breakthrough gave the US Navy a significant strategic advantage. The Americans used this intel to their advantage, launching a surprise attack on the Japanese fleet that caught them completely off guard. Dive bombers played a critical role, swooping down to deliver devastating blows to the enemy ships. The result? A resounding victory for the Allies and a serious blow to the Japanese war effort. This victory not only boosted Allied morale, but also marked a turning point in the Pacific War, showcasing the power of intelligence and air superiority. Chapter 9, D-Day. The Allies hit the beach and the history books. Get ready for the largest seaborne invasion in history, folks. D-Day, June 6, 1944. This was the day the Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, in a daring operation to liberate Western Europe from Nazi control. Amidst all the chaos and carnage, there was one particular unit that stood out for their, shall we say, unconventional tactics. I'm talking about the British Royal Tank Regiment's 79th Armored Division, also known as Hobart's Funnies. Chapter 10. Battle of Berlin, the final showdown and souvenir shopping. We're reaching the end of our historical journey, folks, and things are about to get really real. The Battle of Berlin is not just another chapter in the history books, it's the climactic end of a devastating conflict. This is the Battle of Berlin, April to May 1945, the final desperate struggle in Europe during World War II. The city became a battleground, a stage for the last act of a global tragedy. The Soviet army, fueled by vengeance and a desire to see the war end, had finally reached the heart of the Nazi regime, Berlin. They were relentless, pushing forward with a singular focus to bring an end to the tyranny that had gripped Europe for years. The Battle of Berlin was a brutal, chaotic affair, fought street by street, building by building. The city was transformed into a war zone, with every corner hiding potential danger, every building a fortress. Amidst all the destruction and despair, there's a story that perfectly encapsulates the absurdity of war. As the city crumbled and lives were lost, some soldiers found a peculiar way to cope with the chaos around them. Even in the midst of the most destructive war in human history, people still found time for a little souvenir shopping. Soldiers would collect keepsakes, small tokens from the ruins, as if to hold on to a piece of history, a reminder of their survival and the end of an era. Outro, thanks for joining the History Buffet. Well, there you have it, folks. 10 battles that changed the course of history, served up with a side of humor and a sprinkle of absurdity. From the ancient plains of Marathon to the rubble-strewn streets of Berlin, we've seen how conflict has shaped our world for better or for worse. But remember, history isn't just about battles and bloodshed. It's about the people, the ideas, and the events that have shaped our world into what it is today. Thanks for joining us on this historical adventure, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more historical fun on History's Footprints.